Yeah, I don't have a crush, okay? I have a girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Oh. Uh, it's a good girl. She's Catholic.
Say Jesus for me.
Hi, I'm Alise Chaffins, and I'm here today with Chris Merola, director of the film Lemonade Blessing, about to make its debut at the Tribeca Film Festival. Thank you so much for joining me today, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Are you kidding me? Thanks for joining me. This is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. So, can you give just a quick, synopsis of Lemonade Blessing and what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. Lemon Blessing is a coming of age film about a Catholic high school freshman, child of divorce. His devout mom sends him to a buttoned up Catholic high school, and he falls for this rebellious atheist girl who has him commit sacrilegious dares in order to further their relationship. And craziness ensues. It's very much a movie for those who have tried to love two different people who both want them to be someone completely different. It's for my empaths, people who are like putty in their own hands. They're always like shape shifting.
Yeah, honestly, that was one of the questions I had is that so much of this movie is about John kind of trying to find love and acceptance by doing what he thinks the people want him to do. And I think one of the most powerful lines is he just says, "I don't think I have a me part."
Oh,
And
I'm
that
so glad you
really
talked about that. Yeah, oh, I love that part. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And I think we see that with a lot of young men just today, and it leads to a lot of dark places. Can you just kind of talk about that and, kind of how you see the film playing into that?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, listen, I was raised in a uh, conservative Catholic household. So there was probably, internalized misogyny and sexism in my own household. And then I went to a strict patriarchal sexist Catholic high school, wherein it takes a really long time to undo these narratives. These narratives are harmful to both young boys and young girls. Of course, it's harmful to young girls, but like in particular, we're really depriving young boys the potential to see literally half of the world population as human beings. And we're sending them down very lonely paths, which essentially, when you look at like the manosphere and people like, Andrew Tate, like you're looking at like a population of people who are reducing women to objects, trophies, things to own, things to abuse, urns that can be broken, as Lilith says at one point in the film.
Yeah.
And this is just ridiculous. It's really, really awful. But it's preying on a serious loneliness that I think young men are feeling and a serious confusion because anybody who comes of age is going to approach the other, whether they're attracted to the same sex, the opposite sex, they're going to approach the romantic other with a degree of caution and a degree of fear. And with caution and with fear comes projection and misconceptions. And I think that's normal. It's normal for both boys and girls and boys and boys and girls to have misconceptions of the other when they're doing this, uncomfortable tango around each other. But where the real problem comes in is when this discomfort is weaponized and it's made to seem like a sign of othering, that like women are essentially another species, that there are things essential to their nature, and if they're not doing them, it's just a sign that they're betraying their nature. And it's just all this really just heinous stuff that creates stereotype threat and like anxiety for women who like don't fit that mold or who feel pressured to fit that mold or who are constantly being viewed through the lens of that mold. And it's really uncomfortable stuff. But of course, I'm a cishet guy, so I could only ever make this film through the lens of a cishet young man. And so I view the film through the prism of this young boy, how he's internalizing the sexist messaging, how it's hurting the young women around him. But the film is ultimately subjective to his perspective. And so I have these thoughts about this issue, but I ultimately made a film that's quite, I guess, male in its perspective. And that's something I just have to make my bed and sleep in it. It's my perspective ultimately.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of bouncing off of that, you're part of this emerging group of Gen Z directors. Can you talk about what you think your generation specifically brings to filmmaking?
It's a great question. Well, of course, Gen Z has some pretty tough financial prospects, so I won't talk about how scary it is to like make a film and like risk everything on it. I think that goes, par for the course, and it's always been par for the course with filmmaking. But one thing that I think about is how media literate Gen Z is. One pattern I've been noticing with films is that tonal shifts and films which switch their genres halfway through or films which oscillate between genres are incredibly popular with my generation. And I think it's because we are consuming memes that are so short form in their content. They're 30 seconds to a minute long, and people are packing more and more story into smaller and smaller boxes. And so what I think when I think about Gen Z filmmaking is I think about these tonal shifts, which to me are very much inspired by the YouTube, Vine, and TikTok generation who were raised on videos which, if not within the same video, when they swap between videos, they're constantly getting different tones. And I think that we're all assimilating all these contradictions within ourselves. And so I think that films are taking wilder tonal swings, and I think advertising campaigns are taking wilder tonal swings. And I think that that is the key to what it means to be a Gen Z filmmaker, is to embody and inhabit contradictions and to put them in your films.
Yeah, yeah. One of the interesting things that I think in this film that does really well is it kind of like religion and faith play just such a huge part in it. One of the other scenes that really struck me, I think it's pretty much everything with John and his mom, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
But where John's mother, Mary, asks him if he feels seen by her.
Oh God.
Like,
oh, it breaks my heart. Oh.
But I think what's interesting is that all of this is like kind of, she can only see him through the lens of like her own religious beliefs. That's kind of like the before that statement, and then directly after it, it's just kind of like very tied up in that. Can you just talk about that and like the way that like, yeah, perspectives, I guess other people have, how being seen is kind of a difficult thing to navigate, I guess.
You know, I have this t-shirt. It's a yellow t-shirt, and it says in a circle, the words form a circle. It says, to be seen is to be known is to be loved. So I think that, you know, I'm using seeing as a euphemism for what it means to truly like love someone. So that's like the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is love is ridiculously, ridiculously hard. There are incredibly conflicting visions for what love is that is displayed to us in media. And very few of us are raised in psychologically healthy homes. Everybody, every parent is suffering from their own childhood wounds. They are in many respects the product of their own environment and the media they consume. And a lot of the media that's out there, a lot of the news that we consume is very much based on hatred and otherizing. And so I don't blame people who come of age and they become parents and they're trying their best. And unfortunately, they pass some of their wounds onto their children. To see someone is to be able to see, right? But you can't see if you have blinders on. But we're all given blinders because we're all wounded and we're all subjective. And so I have a lot of sympathy for Mary, and I think by the end of the film, it's clear that, you know, through this all this pain that John's gone through, he's secured a bit of a patch of earth for himself. And Mary, on some level, respects it, even if she can't inhabit that patch of earth with him. They can't see eye to eye, but they still love each other. I think that's what I was thinking about a lot with the film, is like, just like, how do we undo these cycles? Like, how do we do this? I don't know. Like, I don't have the answer, but you know, we're a canvas. Our parents paint upon us. At some point we wrestle that brush from them. And now we're looking at what was painted. We're looking at ourselves. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the hell did they do here? Like, and you gotta paint over it. And sometimes you can't. Like, sometimes they like put a bunch of like paint on it that can't be undone. You're like, all right, I guess this is me now, you know? And so it's really, 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 really hard. And I'm equally as sympathetic to the parents as I am to the children, because we were all children once. And subjectively speaking, we lived half of our lives by the age of 20 because our developmental experiences are so absolutely impactful on who we become. So I guess I hope that answered your question, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So kind of shifting gears a little bit away from like themes and everything. Can you just talk a little bit about what it feels like to premiere this film at Tribeca and, you know, all of the path to that?
Dude, it's totally wacky, totally insane. It's really surreal. I don't even know how to think about it. I've been asked it a couple times, like, how does it feel? I'm like, I don't know. I'm dissociating right now. You know, like, I don't know. I literally don't know. It's like, I'm trying to just keep my eyes in front of me because I am a bit of like a neurotic person, and I think I checked the Tribeca website to see like how many tickets we sold, because I figured out a glitch on their website. If you try to select the maximum amount of tickets, that tells you how many tickets are still available for the showing if it's less than 50 tickets. So I'm literally, me and also Jake, I know Jake is doing it too because he sends it to me sometimes. I literally like 10 times a day, I'm like, how many tickets have we sold? How many tickets have we sold? I'm like refreshing like the letterboxed. I'm like, who logged it? Who logged it? And I'm like, dude, like I just need to like meditate or something. Like, what is wrong with me? So I need to find a way to enjoy this more and be less compulsive. But that's kind of my honest answer about it is I feel numb and increasingly excited, but also just like, what is going to happen? You know?
Yeah. Oh no, that feels totally fair.
Yeah.
One of the things just in the like filming of it itself, one of the things that really struck me is how many like really close up kind of
Yes, yes.
moments there are in it. Can you just talk about that? Because you are up in their face a lot in
Totally.
this film.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, continuing my kind of thread on like psychology, like, I studied psych in undergrad. I approach this stuff from an analytical perspective. And the thing that makes me interested about film is that we can make formalistic decisions where we put the camera, how does the sound design sound, where does the music come in, what is the music, what's the edit. Through all of these things, we get to add up to a subjective experience. And some people have a very objective view of things. I like to break down the character's personality and embody their psychological experience through the camera and through everything. And so we're close up because when you're an adolescent, you're really self-absorbed. There is nothing outside of what's in front of you. And when you're kissing someone, there's nothing in the world but them. They're the only person in the world. So why else should we see anything else? Why should we see a wide, you know? I'm like, fuck wide shots. I don't care. Just give me some close-ups. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
There are some wide shots. There's some fun wide shots, but only when you really cut away when they're like jolted out of things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that really, it was like, I'm watching the film and I'm just like, wow, they're just right in there. The
Yeah.
whole
I mean, part of
time.
it is like, it's important to be honest about what adolescent sexuality is in a way that's not titillating. I think the best way to do it
Yeah.
is to show it in its awkward, saliva-filled, lip-smacking glory. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. It does show that kissing is gross, but yeah.
yeah.
It's
I'm like,
awesome when you're in the middle of
yeah,
it, but
like,
it is not fun to watch.
yeah, it's just one of those things where if you're a bystander, you're like, ew, but if you're in it, you're like, this is freaking lit, dude. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, just as we're kind of wrapping up here, what is kind of the takeaway that you want people to have as they engage with this film?
I guess I'd love people to think about their own childhood development. Like, why are they the way they are? How do their relationships with their parents affect the people that they're attracted to? Because I fucked up so many relationships at this point. I'm really thinking a lot about like, what is attraction? Like, oftentimes,
Mm.
the really strong romantic attraction we feel is lack, right? We are attracted to what it is that we want for ourselves and what we see in the other. And oftentimes, what we want for ourselves is mediated by what we were deprived as children or what we received too much of as children. And so I don't know. I really view the film in like a psychological lens where I hopefully people can walk away from it as a bit of a character study and maybe think about themselves and their own upbringings.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Loved
Of
the
course.
film.
Oh, thank you.
Best
I
of
so
luck.
appreciate
Best
it.
of luck. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
absolutely.
Thank you so, so much.